everybody. Welcome to our the Cultivate Fertility webinar about raising your vibration through your fertility journey. I want to introduce my amazing partner, Kara Burkhart. She's in Connecticut, and I'm in California. I have a very interesting background today because I'm in a hotel in at the beach in California, and there's the life preserver if anybody needs support during the Anyway, I want to talk about my partner, Kara. So this whole concept is about the energy of women and the power of your belief system and your energy system and the way you feel. And Kara and I created this Cultivate Fertility together. And it's amazing. We're going to talk a lot about a tribe of women, but like we did it because we've been such close friends for so many years, and in creating Cultivate Fertility, it's amazing how much I get from working with Kara every day. Like if I'm having a hard time or if I'm struggling or stressed, having a person like Kara in my life truly helps raise my vibration and helps my situation. And this is part of what we're talking about, is being in community. And Dr. Kara is an amazing naturopathic doctor and acupuncturist and fertility specialist. We've been through a lot together as friends. We've both struggled with infertility. My journey was a little bit earlier than hers, but she helped me with mine. And we are here to help talk to our community at Cultivate Fertility about supporting you through this process. I'll stop talking. Hi, Kara.
Hi. Yeah, and this is an interesting thing because people, everyone recognizes this thing of there is energy to people. I'm an acupuncturist. We work with it every day. You can tell that hanging out with Hillary makes you happy. So that's energy. That is what raises your vibration. And one of the questions I ask my patients is, right now, if something happened to you and I had to call like 4 people and they would come running for you, do you have 4 people I could call? And it's heartbreaking how many people don't have those 4 people. So this talk is really about, how to make sure you have those relationships in place and you have your own ways to kind of make yourself feel better, because the fertility and infertility process can be really hard for people. So I think this is a really important topic and not addressed, when we're doing your hormone lab levels and we're talking about this and we're looking at your cycle and we're giving you medications. That's not what it is. It's more about how do you feel and how can you address that aspect in your life, and can that really affect your fertility? And I would argue absolutely it can, because a body and a woman's body that has the message of this is safe, I'm well taken care of, I can support a pregnancy, I can have a newborn, there's going to be enough food, there's going to be enough help, there's going to be lovely people around me, that's the person who is likely to get pregnant. It would make more sense, right? So I think this is such a cool topic because people don't talk about it, and I think they really do need to. So Hillary's awesome at this because, and this is really her brainchild of a topic, because she can explain kind of what energy is. And people talk about it in different ways. For me, I'm an acupuncturist. I deal with chi. That's what I do on a daily basis. As a yoga teacher, I deal with a different kind of, and maybe it's prana or through a breathing exercise. We've been watching Star Wars. It's the Force. Everybody gets it, right? It's the Force. There's something to this, right? So Hillary, what do you explain to people it is? Because sometimes it's kind of hard to explain.
Well, I think it's an essence, right? Like it's sort of like the thing that the thing that surrounds you. We are surrounded by this electric field, and we're electric beings. And we learned it in acupuncture. Do you remember in acupuncture school where we were doing the thing with the credit cards? They were trying to get us to be able to figure out where the person's field starts. And we were feeling the pulses, and we were taking a credit card, and we were feeling kind of where like where with the credit card, the density changed and you could feel the change in the pulse. And it's obviously a skill to work on, but
And frankly, I don't understand it to this day. I've been an acupuncturist for like 15 years, so I still don't really get it, but it's
well,
there, it's real.
I really could feel that. And some people are more sensitive to feeling energy than other people. And so we also have this system of energy in our body, which is our chakras. And we do work with the second chakra. We have like second chakra hydrotherapy we talk about in some of our inner detox program. But like there's this chakra system. But basically we are in this ball of energy, and we are a ball of light. And you can see that there's some people in the world that go around and they're like, mm,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and the glass is kind of half empty and things are really challenging. And you can probably have days, imagine there's days like that in your life where you wake up on the wrong side and then bad things keep happening. You get in line, it's a rainy day and you're standing on, and like water splashes you, or just, it's kind of like you're in a negative energy spiral. And then you can probably remember a day in your life where you're feeling really good and things are just sort of naturally flowing and things are just sort of creative, and you have a thought, and then that thought kind of manifests like, oh, I should come up with a plan. And then a friend kind of calls you and there's a plan and things are really positive. That's the kind of energy we want to help you get to. And it's hard to do on a fertility journey. So like I had PCOS when I was in my 20s, and I didn't have a period for years and years and years, and didn't have a period unless I was on the pill, and I was trying to figure it out. And I went to a hospital. I lived in Boston at the time, and the OB at the hospital, which is like Brigham Women's Hospital, some famous hospital, tells me, you have PCOS, you have cysts on your ovaries, you're very unlikely to get pregnant. And I was like 22. So I was like, wait, what? And I was going to get married. I got married quite young and had my children quite young. So I was just like sort of gutted, like, oh, this problem that I have had that they told me wasn't going to be a problem is a problem. And my energy sort of just collapsed. And my energy collapsed for a while, because I was just sort of walking around like, wait a minute, I'm super young. And then they just told me that I'm not going to be able to be pregnant. And did I do something wrong? And what was that? And what was that? And, and eventually things changed. But, it's not all about my story. But on any given day, even now, like if I have a bad interaction with one of my children, or if I'm stressed about a work project, or, and my energy collapses, it's just, you can tell that my cellular health gets worse. Or I'll give an example. Right now we happen to be in the coronavirus pandemic, and I'm working with patients. When patients start to think that they are sick, it is unbelievable, and this has happened with me too, what can happen. They can sort of manifest a fever, they can sort of manifest stomach issues, or that their throat doesn't feel good, and the more they're worried and the more they're stressed, and the darker hole, it sort of like creates its own beast. So that's the negative kind of energy. And what we know to be true about making babies, it's just like Dr. Kara said, babies come to women who are bright, open, happy, supported, who know it's going to work well, who feel really open and excited about the process. Babies come to those women. And so we just want to help you get into a place where you feel really light and bright. And
yeah.
Go ahead, Kara, please.
No, I was just going to say that I think where this comes up, I was just thinking about where does it come up in clinic most, is when people have miscarriages. And, I had 5 miscarriages. So I know what you're feeling, and it's devastating, and you almost feel like there's no hope, and it's just terrible. But the conversation always turns into, you didn't do anything wrong. We always try and blame ourselves. You didn't do anything wrong. what can we do from here? Do you know what I mean? It's sort of like, that was a fluke. We don't need to assume there's a major problem, and let's go on and see what else we could do. Do we do labs? Do we do all this stuff? But mostly, I think it's because we don't talk about it. You know, when I had those 5 miscarriages, I certainly wasn't talking to people about it. I remember, you know, many a times where it was sort of like my husband would have to have the drink when we were out with friends because I wasn't drinking because I'm pregnant, and, you know, and then he would have to drink for 2 and you wouldn't share with your friends, you know. And I never really sat down and said, you know, I just had a miscarriage and, you know, this and that with women friends, but I encourage my patients to do so because I guess I'm older and wiser at this point. More often than not, their friend says, I had one, my sister-in-law had one, I blah, blah, blah. And we have this like common experience, and that really helps. So one of our topics today was this tribe of women thing. And I think that's where it comes out. Like, I can sit here and talk about those experiences with women, and then they feel like they're not alone. And so if you're feeling alone in this fertility journey, just know that you are not alone. So common, so many problems out there. And you certainly can get on Facebook groups, go to Cultivate Fertility, check it out. And that piece of just connecting on everyone else is experiencing the same things I've experienced, and maybe they figured out how to solve their problems, can be really helpful for you and make you feel a lot better. So it's incredibly useful and powerful as a medicine. And then science is sort of saying that this is a good medicine. I mean, I find it incredible that so many people go for a surgery and the surgeon is doing a prayer before surgery, you know, and they're willing to do that. And that's amazing and so great. So they're
It's so
really
amazing how the research is following, and really energetic medicine is coming into the present time. The energy medicine, we've studied Chinese medicine. That's a system of energetic healing. They're old traditions have systems of energetic healing, and prayer is one of those. And it, you know, it's non-denominational. It doesn't matter who or what you're praying to. It's the act of release. It's the act of releasing power and control, and just asking for support and asking for help, and focusing a thought. So a lot of people, it turns into gratitude journals or mindfulness. There's a lot of different ways, and really those are all forms of prayer. And I know my mom just went through, she had a bone marrow transplant for cancer, and I gave her this beautiful mala where all the I love malas. I love them for fertility. I love, because it's they're prayer beads, and the numbers all matter. And I don't know all the mala medicine. We'll have somebody on to talk about it for Cultivate Fertility, because it's amazing. But like, she just felt like it was such a grounding process to go bead by bead and just say a prayer. I pray I get to make it through the bone marrow transplant. I pray all of her different prayers. And she said that it made her, every time she was feeling scared and, oh my God, what happens if I die? Or, oh my God, what happens if I have a bad reaction? Totally normal feelings. That if she put on her mala and she just sat with the practice, that she would feel her energy vibration raise. And who's going to do better in a bone marrow biopsy, or sorry, with a bone marrow transplant? She had to get a bunch of biopsies too. Who's going to do better? A person with a higher energy vibration that feels strong and in their power, or a person that's got low vibration, that's in the fear space and that's sort of collapsing?
obvious
Vibration, right? And it is the same for bringing a baby into your life. So one thing that we just want to offer to people, that you can start, it's okay to pray for things, and it's okay to visualize like one form of prayer is making a vision board, and we'll do an activity of, I love making vision boards, visualizing a baby in your life, visualizing the family that you want, visualizing how it looks, like Kara said, who's going to help you, where you're going to bring your baby to daycare, or if you work, where, how, what you're going to dress her in, or him, or who. Visualizing all these things, it helps to raise your vibration and make, it's magic in a sense how it works for things to come into your life that way.
Yeah, so visualizing a baby, that's the ultimate goal, right? So the soft breath, the smell of the baby, if you kind of think about that each day on your commute to work, while you're cooking dinner, whenever it is, I think that's important and can be really important as far as getting that positive sense around it and not the overwhelm.
The other thing, another point that we talk about just ways to raise your vibration. So this is like, if you're in that moment where things are rough, if you just had a miscarriage, if your FSH comes back and it's not where you want it to be, or your progesterone isn't working, and anything that, or you have an argument with your partner because it's hard for them to understand your struggle and your vibrations down. We just want to give you some quick tools of how you can change things. And a lot of these tools are, in essence, stepping out of yourself, in one, praying and asking for support, or praying for something better, praying for other people. A lot of times, if you also know somebody else is suffering, and I wish that I can transform this feeling that I'm having right now. I also want to help transform this person who I know is really struggling. Sometimes gifting prayer and collective prayer can really raise your vibration. And that brings you into the second point, which is the gift of service. And this doesn't have to be, organized volunteering. It can just be calling a friend that you know is having a hard time. It can be helping the person with groceries at the grocery store that can't carry everything. It can be buying the person's coffee behind you, or, picking up a little bit of trash. Any act of service, anytime you step out of yourself and you give something to somebody else, watch what happens to your vibration. If you're in the
So we always say, if you give, you also receive. So it's an important thing. And Hillary and I are yoga teachers, and I think that's really interesting because in that tradition, it's seva, and it's sort of like it's a path, it's a way to being in the world. And it's an expectation, but not in a stressful way. It's more of like, this is how you live well. You do service for other people, and that's going to make you healthy. It's very interesting. It's sort of like part of the way. Like if you ask your average yoga teacher, like, what do you do for seva? Oh, they have a list. Do you know what I mean? And it's just part of the way that they present in the world, as far as, what can I do for you? What can I do for this organization? I'm going to go to the food bank. I'm going to do this. And in talking to people about it, it's not more is better. It's not that, because it can be overwhelming, right? Then they fill their calendar with it. It's more, doing something that feeds your spirit. Like, what do you love to do? Who do you want to connect with? And what sort of feeds you, that where you leave this kind of time you're doing the service and you feel really good about it. So it's finding that one thing and not doing it too much to where it's all, where it becomes a burden for you. So it's not like more is better. It's just like water that way, don't drink 2 gallons of water because water is good for you. It's the same thing, but it is a way of being that can be so healing. And so it's just nice because it's something you can do.
And this is like absolutely looked at in research, that like people who give and are in service, and that they have better outcomes, that if they're in a community that they feel connected to and that they're in service with, they have better outcomes with cancer, heart disease, because the body is happier. Like happiness, your vibration. So those kind of equal. I get a little annoyed with like happy on a fertility journey, because it's not quite like that. But I'm just talking about raising, if you're having the hardest time and you just do something that feels good for somebody else or that feeds your spirit on some level, you're going to just notch up a bit. And that notch up a bit is positive for your fertility. It's positive for your hormones. It's positive for your stress hormones. And then you can notch up a little bit again, and then notch up a little bit. So soon you feel like you're vibrating at a higher energy and a higher frequency. Things are just, you're happier, things are have a bit more ease. So even though you might be in a time where you're experiencing hardship, you can still have ease in that hardship. You can find laughter, you can have peace, you can, and these are just quick ways to do it. And so Kara talked about kind of our third point, which is having a tribe of women or a community of women or a place where you go and you listen and you can hear other people's stories and sometimes either help or just be helped by knowing that you're not alone. And a lot of women do this with Facebook groups. We have our Cultivate Fertility Facebook group that we would love for you to be involved with, and so we can help serve you. But being with girlfriends, being with, and this is some, as Kara was talking about, there's sort of this isolationism that comes with fertility issues. It's got a, you know, an embarrassment. Some women have an embarrassment and they don't speak about it. And we really want to find the right people for you to speak with so that you don't feel alone and you don't feel isolated. And sometimes if you're doing this with a male partner, sometimes those male partners just can't, they just can't understand the situation. They're just not quite as, they can be amazing partners, but they're just, it's just not quite the same as a group of women who have been through what you've been through. Or, and we were really trying to get you to cultivate those relationships and connections.
And so I had a person recently sort of share with me that someone who she knows had gotten pregnant, and I hear this a lot, so it's kind of a good story to tell because it's one of these ones that we just don't talk about. And so she sort of found out, you know, oh, you're pregnant, okay. And she's trying to be happy for this woman, but she was so crushed by it. And she just was like, I'm so upset that I wasn't really happy for her. And this isn't me. I shouldn't feel this, but you know, because she was so disappointed because of her own experience. And it was so hard for her. And then she actually reached out to the friend and said, you know, I'm so happy for you. I've been struggling with these few things. So if my reaction is not what you expect, this is why. And it was such a beautiful conversation that kind of ensued from that, and communication. Her friend was like, oh, thank you for sharing that. And they just got even closer. So it was very sweet, actually, the story. And it was lovely that she felt like she could reach out to that person and say, you know, if I'm not like supporting you enough or being as excited as you expect, this is why. And I think that's kind of a thing that we should share with people, because we all experience these disappointments if we've had infertility issues, and those sort of posts of I'm pregnant, or I just had a baby, or I just had my first ultrasound can be really crushing. So everybody's experienced that heartache who's had fertility issues. So just maybe trying to find someone that you think you could like trust and share the story with, and you might be surprised. Just a piece of thing I've seen over time.
So the fourth point that we were going to talk about was that you can bring magic and healing into your life. And so, you know, this is just kind of furthering what we've been talking about, but I'm a girl that I'm a, I don't know, like a modern day hippie, a yuppie hippie. I love crystals. I love essential oils. I love all, you know, herbs, and that's just who I am. And I think that this is a time when it's totally okay to use some of those tools and experiment with creating a little bit of magic. And so for me, when I remember when I was with my PCOS, I was trying to get my cycle going again. And I used to put my hands on my stomach and I'd put like a really pretty crystal, I don't even remember what it was a while ago, on my uterus. And I would just sort of pray, like, now I'm going to bring my period, and I'm going to heal my ovaries, and I'm going to work on this. And I would kind of meditate a little bit or whatever I did back then, light a candle, but I just kind of created some healing magic in a sense. And I remember even more with my third baby. I was really trying to figure out if I wanted to have a third baby or not. I had two babies, but I was a working doctor and it was really busy. And I just sort of sat and I just asked for the magic to, like, give me a sign, show me a sign. And then where I went for the next several days, there were like little babies on my path everywhere I went, and I was like, okay. Sometimes it's like playing. Sometimes fertility can be so meticulous, and you're taking your temperatures and you're looking at your cervical mucus and you're giving yourself injections, if that's what you're doing, and it can be so sterile and scientific and planned. And what we're trying to do is say that bringing a little bit of magic, prayer, service, friendship, just magic into it can really make you feel more empowered. It makes you feel better in the process and in the journey. So I could talk about it for
and it is a bit of magic to begin with. Frankly, it's a process. Getting pregnant is a process that goes against your immune system in your body. You have to sort of accept and grow a foreign DNA kind of thing. So that's not what your body's set up for. So I'm always amazed if I sort of go into the science of this has to happen and this has to happen and this has to happen and this has to happen. It's amazing we get pregnant anyway. And so the fact that most infertility is unexplained doesn't surprise me, because I don't think we really get the basics of implantation and all kinds of things that go along the way. So, and I see these cases that I have where, the woman has like one ovary and, the egg has to fly across and get to the other fallopian tube because she doesn't have the one where her one ovary is, and she gets pregnant. So it's sort of like this thing of, if we don't really know what's going on anyway, why not work with your energy? Why not work with your diet? Why not do a pre-pregnancy detox? Why not do everything you possibly can so that you can set your body up for potentially creating that being and being a good sort of host for a pregnancy? So, if I was going to look at, there are these human beings, what's going to be the best mother or way a baby's going to grow? It's going to be that mother who is secure, has a solid, great diet, who's not going to go into starvation mode, who's nourishing herself, who has great relationships with people, who has great energy, because it takes a lot. A newborn baby, remember? Oh my. So I think that's sort of the thing. It's like, get yourself as healthy as you possibly can and go from there. And let's just see what can happen, because it is kind of this thing. We don't know.
And I love that you brought it back to the detox. Like, we believe so much in our programs, our fertility diet program, which just walks you through foods that make you feel good, foods that help you raise your vibration, foods that help you operate at a higher resonance, feeling strong, feeling healthy, having great hormone production, having beautiful skin, feeling radiance. That is what our patients report on with the fertility diet. And doing a 30-day pre-pregnancy detox, it sounds maybe overwhelming. Our patients love it when they do it, and they learn so much about their bodies, and people feel so much better. They shed sort of layers, and they can feel themselves just in their sort of healthiest place. When I do a cleanse, I just am like, I have so much energy. I have a lot of creativity. Things are really flowing. I'm not kind of burdened down by the daily kind of foods that aren't great for me. And in our detox, we talk so much about organs, the organs that you need to kind of work with, and using hydrotherapy and exercise. And it's a whole system with great supplements that really support you and raise your vibration. So
And those videos, I mean, Hillary is mostly talking on the videos and the detox and just really gets people pumped. They love you on the videos and telling them how to eat and how to do hydrotherapy and stuff. So it's actually a really inspiring program. And it really is the best way to prepare for pregnancy. So I'm very happy with the results I see in people. So I'm thrilled to be able to offer that to more and more people.
we're super excited that you watched this webinar, and we hope we kind of got you inspired to think about sort of all that lies, not just the meticulousness, but the magic and the energy and what it really means to be have a high vibration and to feel amazing in your body. And we would love it if you join us with our programs. We're here to support you and to help you create your beautiful family that you're dreaming of. What we say, we want to help you plant the seeds for your happiest and healthiest family.
Okay, we look forward to working with you in the future.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody. Thanks for joining.